Have you ever been to Taj Mahal, the Colosseum in Rome, Eiffel Tower, Pisa Tower, Beijing Palace Museum, Parthenon in Athens, Battle Facade, Chris Redeemed, Red Torii Gate in Kissimmee, Historical Fortress, of Kukul, and the site of Seoul's Cathedral? For decades, objects or living beings or the nature. Architecture has been the only evidence to prove the existence of our ancestors of the past, to show the glorious and dreadful history occurred. According to Norman Foster, as an architect, you design for the present with an awareness of the past for a future which is essentially unknown. Historical architecture not only serves for the past, but also the present and the future. While preserving historical architecture may influence the development of smart cities, regulations aimed at protecting ancient architecture serve a multitude of benefits. These regulations not only maintain the nation's cultural heritage and conserve resources for future generations, but also serve as a blueprint for future urban planning, promoting a sense of place and identity essential for creating livable and sustainable cities. In which the main causes for countries to conserve these historical architecture is due to historical, cultural, and environmental causes. You may ask, why build these architectures in the first place? You might have heard stories and mythologies from those famous historical architectures around the world. For example, the Taj Mahal was built for Shah Jahan to memorialize his favorite wife. Greek mythologies and how Pericles built the Parthenon of Athens for the rise of the Athenian Empire. And finally, definitely you will know the Great Wall of China, built as a boundary to protect their territory during the Qing dynasties. There is even the Chinese foretell of myth of how workers who were responsible for construction were buried inside the wall alive. These love stories and bedtime stories somehow represent and establish connections between the modern society and the past, gaining insight to historic values and tradition. Furthermore, fostering a sense of cultural pride. Not only is that it, last but not least, the preservation of these sites or buildings all decrease the need of demolition, which each reconstruction produces about 4 billion tons of carbon emission. Can you imagine how many years will it require to resolve those emissions? 20 to 200 years or so. Countries today still insist the application of conservation for historical architecture, a complex issue with positive and negative effects. A very big main part of preservation for historical architecture is its limitations toward modernization, especially the establishment of smart cities, as the idea of these smart cities refers to a modern technological-based urban areas that utilize information and communication technology to increase efficiency and reduce pollution waste in society, mobility, economy, government, environment, and quality of life. However, each development process embraces the concept of out with the old, in with the new. Lands and old buildings are required to be teared off due to limited demand for construction in order to rebuild new communities and artifactures. For instance, since March 2016, the establishment of the 13th Five-Year Plan, China has increasingly adopted the development of smart cities. Still, some people may agree with the idea of going on to a new life, but still few people believe that history should be preserved and not forgotten, which these architectures that carry history should remain. Second, the exploratory study conducted in Pengyu District, Guangzhou, China, demonstrated that the protection of cultural heritage serves a positive social impact and heightened sense of community pride and an increased awareness of the need to preserve Lingyan culture. Taking China as an example, Chinese historical architecture illustrates with great beauty and speciality, with multiple cases of preservation and new construction that mimics these ancient architecture. China shows a gradual respect to their cultural history that has further affected in ways such Chinese teenagers have been using their own to spread their sense of cultural pride around the world, performing skateboard with Chinese traditional clothing and dances. Last is the economic effect historical architecture brings. Tourism is one of the biggest businesses in the world, generating at least 200 million jobs. Historical architecture and heritage sites are often significant tourist attractions, contributing to the identity of a community and the economy of a nation. As a result, heritage sites have become the most prevalent attractions of countries' tourism. Today, 10.4% of the world's GDP and 7% of the world's total exports come from tourism. Throughout history, architecture has been used to reflect the values and beliefs of civilization, with China being part of the trend for maintaining architectural works. The number of historical architecture remains, emphasizing the idea of the importance of architectural protection. Despite the significance of historical architecture preservation, future challenges persist in collaborating with governments, communities, and organizations to develop innovative solutions that balance development and conservation, while incorporating new technologies and sustainable practice to enhance resources and cultural heritage for future generations.